Hiking is supposed to be one of the most low-cost hobbies out there. So why does it feel like when you get into hiking, one of the first things you notice is the sheer amount of gear advertised everywhere? Big name brands, high-tech fabrics, and price tags that make you wonder if you're buying your first waterproof jacket
or your first car. Yes, I'm still learning to drive at 27.
Over the past few years, there's been a huge crossover between hiking gear, outdoorsy fashion, and streetwear trends like gorpcore and techwear. Outdoor brands aren't just making technical gear for hikers anymore. They're also catering to more fashion-conscious consumers who maybe care a bit more about style than they do about functionality. Now, this isn't inherently bad, but it means that these companies are competing with fast fashion trends, which lead to overconsumption, higher prices, and lower quality. We hear about the effects of fast fashion all the time, or at least I do. Unethical factories, poor working conditions, and mountains,
pun intended,
of clothing ending up in landfill. But we're outdoorsy people, so our gear is made to last. Surely we aren't contributing to that, right? According to Greenpeace, 92 million tons of textiles end up in landfill. And unfortunately, outdoorsy gear absolutely contributes to that. I think there's a bit of dissonance when it comes to hiking clothes. We tell ourselves, this isn't just clothing, it's equipment, and I need this to be comfortable and safe out in the wilderness. And sometimes that's true. Technical gear exists for a reason. Waterproofing, insulation, breathability, durability, these are all things that we take into account when we're buying hiking gear. But in addition to these outdoorsy brands acting more fast fashion-y, they have their inherent problems with sustainability themselves. Take waterproof gear. Most of it is made with PFAS, or perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl substances. These are known as forever chemicals, which contaminate water and soil and have even been linked to health concerns. There have been some great YouTube videos on this topic, and thankfully, brands are starting to listen and developing PFAS-free alternatives. But we still have a long way to go. I think some brands are struggling to use these because maybe they're a bit more expensive, maybe people aren't aware that they should look out for this kind of thing when they're buying, but more on that later. So, while we may not think of outdoorsy gear in the same way we think of fast fashion, it's all part of the same system. Trend drives demand, demand drives overproduction and overconsumption, and these things lead to waste. So we can see that hiking gear has a sustainability issue, but why do we personally feel the need to keep buying more? Now, before you get rightfully confused at my position on this because of the mountain of clothes behind me, this isn't a video about what I think people should and shouldn't wear on a trail. I'm not against fashion. I love fashion. I do feel like my eye for fashion is more developed than my ability to put together cool outfits, but that doesn't stop me from trying. I literally had to build this wardrobe clothes rail situation because I clearly love clothes too much. I understand wanting to look your best and express yourself through fashion, especially in situations where you might come across people with the same hobbies as you. Fashion can be a visual indicator of your personality, and I personally want people to go, that's an outdoorsy person whenever they see me. I think that's why people wear outdoorsy brands like Arc'teryx on the tube, but I might be giving them too much credit there. The problem for me, at least, is when the desire to express yourself through fashion starts inching into overconsumption territory, which is definitely where I've been before, clearly. There's such a strong link between how I feel about my identity and the clothes that I wear, to the point where in the past I've spent money that I didn't really have just to try and express myself through fashion, which was clearly bad for my bank account and bad for the planet. The issue there wasn't that I wanted to express myself through fashion, it was that I was over-consuming to get there. And I think the same goes for outdoor fashion, which then bleeds into hiking. The real issue isn't people wanting to look good on a hike, it's the pressure to constantly buy new gear to fit in because brands are catering to everyday fashion rather than to actual hiking gear. That's where the hiking industry starts to feel a bit too fast fashion-y for me. So what's the solution? How do we enjoy hiking fashion without falling into the trap of overconsumption? Well, some would just say to stop buying hiking gear, which, yeah, that's definitely the answer for some people. But a lot of us do still want to express ourselves with our clothes. I spend a lot of time out in nature and I want to feel confident and cool while I'm out of puff struggling to walk up an incline. So what can we do if we don't want to stop experimenting with our clothes? Step 1, shop secondhand. Even if you're not putting together fun outfits, one of the best ways to keep hiking affordable and sustainable is to buy secondhand hiking gear. And while secondhand fashion has definitely exploded, at least in my little online bubble, I think that's kind of mostly limited to everyday wear. Maybe there's a bit of a weird stigma around buying secondhand hiking gear, because I suppose, you know, the functionality is important, so if something has lost its functionality, it's not going to be good secondhand. Or maybe people assume buying secondhand means buying lower quality, when in reality most outdoor gear is made to last. And loads of people sell things in near perfect condition because it either didn't fit them right, or they invested in a bunch of brand new gear for one hike before deciding they actually hate hiking. And no shade to them, because I have found some great deals on Vinted. I literally mentioned in my last video that my first kind of proper hiking jacket was a £10 bundle from Vinted that was a down jacket and a waterproof jacket. Patagonia fleeces for under 20 quid. Even some snazzy Oakley splices. I can really picture myself as like a 30-year-old dad in the 90s cooking up a barbecue. Vinted is my personal favourite, but Facebook Marketplace, charity shops, Depop, eBay, some brands even have their own official reselling platforms where they sell refurbished gear. Whatever you want to use, there are so many secondhand deals out there. The key is to ditch the mindset that everything has to be brand new, or that brand new gear is inherently better. Buying secondhand is just as good, if not better, than buying firsthand. Because you're saving money, you're probably getting something that's out of circulation and therefore looks a bit more unique, and you're saving something from going into landfill. So step 1 was to start secondhand shopping. Step 2 would be repairing and maintaining the things you already own, rather than replacing them when they break. Hiking gear is designed to be durable, but that doesn't mean it's meant to last forever with no maintenance. A lot of the time people toss perfectly good gear just because it's a little bit worn out when it could easily be refreshed or repaired. Take waterproof gear, for example. It's super common for people to just throw away jackets or waterproof trousers that stop repelling water, when most of the time they just need re-waterproofing. And that's literally one of the easiest DIYs ever. All you need to do is grab a bottle of Nikwax or Granger's reproofing solution for about £5, throw your stuff in the washing machine and maybe the dryer if you've got one, and boom. Clothes are as good as new. Yet so many people don't realise this and end up replacing gear unnecessarily. The same goes for hiking boots. Most boots aren't actually worn out when people start replacing them. They just might need a new set of insoles, waterproofing, and maybe a bit of cleaning as well. Now, I'm not actually saying that you should never buy anything new. If you do need to buy new, the best approach is buying less, but buying better. And I know, that's easier said than done when it comes to outdoor gear. A lot of it is so expensive. But the truth is, a well-made, durable piece of gear will last years longer than a cheap alternative. The most expensive option doesn't automatically make something the best option. I mainly just mean be more intentional about where your money goes. This is so important because every time we buy something, we are voting with our money. Brands notice what consumers are spending their money on, and when we choose to support companies that make genuine sustainability efforts, it pushes the whole industry forward. Some brands have already been stepping up their game, some a lot more longer term than others. Patagonia, Rab and Fjallraven have all been pushing their repair and reuse programs for years, and I actually chose Rab for my new waterproof jacket because it's PFAS free and they use a lot of recycled materials, and I like that repair and reuse program. The more we support brands actually making an effort, the more pressure it puts on the industry to catch up. But just remember, if you're not sure whether to commit to a big purchase, borrowing from a friend, testing gear out, or renting for that one-off trip is a great way to try before you buy and help you figure out if you actually need to buy something. If you take one thing from this video, let it be that you can enjoy hiking fashion and expressing yourself through fashion without falling into the cycle of overconsumption. The best thing that we can do for the outdoors that we love is make sure that we're not leaving a trail of waste behind us. Let me know if you found this interesting. It's definitely a bit of a different video for me because it's not a how to get into hiking video or a hiking vlog, but I just thought it was an interesting topic, and clearly it's definitely something that's affected me before. YouTube's going to recommend whatever it thinks is good for you here, but I do have a link in the description that I think you might be interested in. Thanks for watching.